Today's March 5th, 2026, and welcome to the 482nd episode of the So Video Games podcast. Here on the show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. My name is Brad Galloway. I am the one-man host of the show, and I'm also the editor of GameCritics.com, a website that uses the full range of review scores from 0 to 10 and offers full accessibility information on every review that we publish. Hello! How is it going? How are you doing? How are things? I want to know. Really, for sure. Send me a message. Let me know how you're doing. Things are going good over here. Just a little quick warm up before we dive in. Things have been busy, and this has been kind of a weird week. I was kind of scrambling for some content. I knew that I wasn't going to have any guests on this week. Carlos is off doing whatever Carlos does when he's out and about. Jeremiah was doing something, and I didn't have anybody else lined up. So I knew this was going to be a solo episode, and I'm like, okay, got to pull it together, got to get something going. And it's no problem. I've done a million episodes on my own, but it was just like really busy this week. Quick, I don't know, peek behind the curtain for those who care, just for a minute or two. And if you don't care about my bullshit, just fast forward a couple seconds here. But this week, basically, I moved my son out onto his own-ish. He's 16, going to be 17 in a month or two. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but he definitely has needed some space. And his mom and I want some space as well. Mutual space needed. And so we were trying to brainstorm about what we could do. And ended up that we ended up getting a trailer, like a little, not like a fifth wheel or anything, but like kind of like a little camper trailer thing that he could live in, because honestly, I mean, we live in Seattle, and Seattle is fucking expensive just like anywhere else, and he doesn't really have a full-time job yet, and even if you did have a full-time job, you can't really afford anything anyway. And so we're like, what the fuck do you do? Like, how does anybody even afford anything? We're in a lot of economic trouble here in the United States. That's a whole other podcast, not going to get into that now, but you know that I know that you know. And so it's like, what do you even do for young people who need to get out there on their own? Now, luckily, we have a driveway, so I had a place to put a trailer. I mean, number one, you got a fucking place to put it. And then number two, we're not rich by any means. And so what I had to do was go into my game collection. Now, I've been a game critic here at Game Critics for 26, 27 years. And I've been playing my whole life. I mean, ever since I was like probably 5 or 6. And so I had a pretty good game collection. I've been selling off bits and pieces of it for various reasons. Part of it is because even though I am a game critic and I love video games, I am not like a tech guy. I don't like fiddling with wires, and I'm not good with a soldering iron. I don't like to fix things. I don't like to troubleshoot. I don't like to do things like that. And so I just realized, like, a lot of the stuff that I've collected, like, old consoles and old games and stuff, it's like, honestly, am I ever going to play any of this stuff anyway? Probably not. And on top of that, I mean, if you listen to the show for any length of time, you probably know that your boy here doesn't really ever play anything again ever. There's I can probably count on like one hand, maybe two, probably one, how many games I have ever wanted to replay in my life. I mean, what have I replayed? I've replayed Graveyard Keeper, because I never fucking finished it. So I don't know if that even counts as a replay. I'm still trying to beat that. And I've started like 3 times. I've replayed Death Stranding #1, Director's Cut, because I think that game's fucking awesome and I love it. And I just love playing it. Story's horseshit, but I love the game. I've replayed that I think I'm on my 3rd playthrough, picking at it here and there. Beyond that, what else have I replayed? Nothing. I don't think I'm just not a replayer. And so I'm looking at this collection, and to be perfectly honest, when I was younger, when I was still very young, and I was like, oh, someday I'm going to have a house, and I'm going to have all these games, and I'm going to set up like a little game collection area, and I'll have a little mini museum in my house, and it'll be so fucking rad, and I'll just love it, and I'll sit in there and look at my games, and I'll play my games, and I'll do my game stuff. And life, took a couple turns. I mean, things happened. And, I had a couple messed up relationships that didn't work out, and things changed and got broke for a while and all these things and up and down. And like my game collection just never happened. Right. And so I do have a house now. I do have a place now, but instead of games, I pivoted towards action figures, because I also have always loved action figures ever since I was a kid, probably even before video games, if we're being honest, because action figures existed before video games. And so I don't have a lot of space, but the space that I do have is for my action figures, and that brings me a lot of joy. And I'm just not going to replay this stuff, and I'm not going to set it up to where it works. I don't want to get a bunch of like connections and a bunch of various CRT TVs, and it's just not my jam. So I'm like, okay, so you know what? I'm going to just sell some of this stuff, because realistically, when am I ever going to play it again? Never. Am I going to display it? No. So why am I holding on to it? Not sure. And I just really couldn't justify it, right? So I've been selling off the collection. And not to brag, but I had a pretty fucking good collection. I've been around for a long time. I hit the age range when I actually had money, but wasn't broke in debt. And I was still single, so I was shopping for stuff. I had like all the Venn diagrams like lined up. Single, has a job, likes games, doesn't have a bunch of bills. All those little bubbles lined up. And so I had a pretty good collection going for a while. A lot of rarities. And I liked a lot of the fringe stuff, so I just naturally bought a lot of like games that are really hard to find these days, that are short printed or rare or just hard to find, because I was always playing the fringe stuff even back then. My collection was a lot more than just Call of Duty and FIFA and stuff like that. I mean, I had a lot of the oddball stuff. And so I've been selling off some of that here and there, but I still had a pretty good chunk. But now that, my kid needed to move out, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to sell more of this stuff. And luckily we have a really good retailer. If you're well, I guess they're not just in Seattle. I was going to say, if you're in the Seattle area, Pink Gorilla Games, who is run by Kelsey Lewin. Hello, Kelsey. Hope you're listening. Good friend Kelsey Lewin runs Pink Gorilla Games. She bought that a while ago, and she's done some great things with it. They've got a number of stores in the area. Not a sponsor, and this is not really officially a plug, but I sell most of my stuff there. They give good value. They're pretty honest. I've had a good experience with them. I think they just opened a store in Vegas. So if you're in Vegas, there's a Pink Gorilla there. And I think they've got 2 or 3 stores in Seattle. I'm not sure if they've got any other stores elsewhere in the country, but they're great. I love Pink Gorilla. And so I've been selling some stuff. And so I took some boxes of my collection and, some good pieces, some like mediocre pieces, a lot of stuff that nobody wants, whatever. Mixed it up. Not everything's gold. And it's funny. I was just going through a pile today, and I was really realizing like how few games really do increase in value. Like most of them just really tank as far as value goes. But anyway, so I took some stuff down to Pink Gorilla. They gave me a fair price, and we ended up putting a down payment on this trailer so my son could go and live out. And I feel like that's a good end to that story, right? I had this collection, never going to play it again, never going to display it because I don't have the space. It's just in boxes in my garage collecting dust. Or I could trade it in and have a place for my son, who is going to be 17 soon, needs his own space, have a place for him to live that he would never have otherwise, And so I feel like it's a very fatherly and responsible thing to do. And I felt like that was a good way to turn those purchases into something else that is really usable, getting a lot more value out of it than just having those boxes sit in the garage. So anyway, that's what I've been doing. And so moving him out to the trailer has been kind of like a thing. He's, this is the first time he's like living quote unquote on his own. And so learning how to take care of that and manage your stuff independently. So it's been a thing. It's been pretty busy, and I haven't had as much time to play this week as I would like to. And so I found myself like yesterday or today being like, oh shit, got nothing to talk about, and I can't put out an hour of silence. So I guess we better play some shit real quick. But it all came together. It came together, and I'm happy to say that I do have a full load of stuff to talk about. I might not talk about each game for forever, but we've got enough to talk about. So, all right, let's get to it, folks. What are we talking about? No housekeeping this week, because fuck it. As far as stuff we published this week, is there anything worth talking about there? I don't know. I should have got this ready beforehand, and I didn't do it beforehand, and now here we are. We published a Wreckfest 2 review. We published Japanese Drift Master review. Good week for driving games at our site. We published a Marathon review. We published Leysara Summit Kingdom review. What else did we publish? Looking at this real quick. Adrift. And before that was Showgunners, and I think Monster Hunter Stories 3, Twisted Reflection, Demon Tides, a couple other things. So we publish stuff. My goal at Game Critics is to try to do at least one review per day, or like one good piece of content per day. And I feel like most of the time we hit that. Not always, but most of the time, because we're a pretty small operation. So I'm proud of that. Go over to GameCritics.com. Check out that stuff if you haven't been over there in a while. Read these excellent reviews that are done by our excellent writers and see what you think. And again, we do publish accessibility information on all those reviews. That's like, does the game have subtitles or audio cues? Is the controller remappable? Are there colorblind options? We have parental guidelines in case you're curious about content for your kids. We got all that stuff there because we care. We give a shit. We do. So check that stuff out. A lot of stuff going up at our YouTube this week. Couple trailers. I think the most notable one is Mortal Shell. If you remember that one from a couple years ago, they're coming out with a sequel pretty soon. And they put out a pretty long gameplay trailer, so you can go check that out. If you like Dark Souls, or if you remember the first Mortal Shell, that one, it got a pretty good cult following. It was pretty uneven and busted, but at the same time, it had a lot of cool ideas to it, and it had a pretty good number of fans, I believe, if I recall. I was one of those. I ended up finishing it, despite that game being fucking balls hard. And not in the good way, but I did end up finishing it. So we have a pretty long gameplay trailer for Mortal Shell 2. Couple other trailers. Eugene has a couple first looks. Eugene Sachs, Man About Town, as well as our YouTuber. So youtube.com/@gamecritics.com videos. And I think that's all of the preamble right now. Let me get to some questions. I threw out an ask for questions and comments right before recording, and people in our Discord did give me a couple things. So let me pop over to that tab real quick, and let's get these questions answered. All right, questions. First one comes from Leechman. What's up, dude? Leechman says, I am a massive James Bond fan. I will be playing the new 007 First Light. Do you plan on playing it? Also, what is your favorite Bond film? If you have one, I guess that's 2 questions. Oh, Leechman, you said you had one. You snuck in 2. Sneaky guy. Okay, so am I going to be playing 007 First Light? Okay, real talk. I am a big fan of, what is it, IO? Is that who it is? I forget who it is. They were the same people as the Hitman people. I feel like it's IO. I could be wrong, but I feel like that's the developer. And I've played all the Hitman games. I love Hitman. It's one of my favorite series of all time. In fact, Corey Motley and I did like a 4-hour podcast that was about like basically every Hitman game ever done. We talked about missions. We talked about our strategies. If you want to know how we feel about Hitman, boy, that's the fucking show to listen to. You can find it in the archives. So I'm a massive fan of Hitman. I love Hitman. It's great stuff. And I got to be honest with you, when I heard that their next thing was going to be 007, I was like, what? I mean, I guess you can kind of see similar themes, spying, subterfuge, gadgets, probably going to kill a few folks, secret mission type stuff. So you can kind of see how Agent 47 and Agent 007 are kind of in the same vague ballpark. But man, I was like, oh, not too excited for that. I will play Hitman games for eternity. So I was kind of hoping we would get some new Hitman stuff. I can't say that I'm that excited. Am I going to play it? I mean, I guess probably not gonna review it. I feel like we have a couple people at the website gamecritics.com who are already pretty hot to trot for that game. So I will let somebody who is more excited for it than me play that one. But I guess I will probably get to it eventually. Probably a lot of it will depend on the reviews. It's hard for me to imagine IO putting out something that's bad. But also, I know that when you build a game and you have IP restrictions to consider, you don't get carte blanche to do whatever you want. You've got to respect the IP holder's wishes, and you've got to agree to certain stipulations. And sometimes that can restrict some people. So I don't know if I should expect Hitman with the 007 skin. Should I expect something scaled back, something more actiony? What's it really going to be like? I don't know, man. So I guess I'll wait to see what people say about it. And I think probably the other aspect related to my hesitancy about this game is I'm just not that big a 007 fan. I know that probably breaks your heart, and I'm sorry to say it, man. So, okay, I believe I've seen all of the 007 movies. I've seen them all at least once, except for the brand newest ones with Daniel Craig. I gotta be honest, those are fucking boring, dude. Like, those are really boring, and I was not able to sit through them. I think the wife and I started all of them, and we were just like, we could feel ourselves aging in real time as we were watching this. I found them just really dull and really boring. So we've seen like the first hour of each of the new ones, but have not finished those. But all the older ones, like with Sean Connery, and the one with Lazenby and Roger Moore and Timothy Dalton and the other guy that I can't remember, whatever his name is. I've seen them all at least once, and I feel like I kind of enjoyed them, to one degree or another. But honestly, I couldn't even tell you which one was which. To be frank with you, I'm not trying to obfuscate anything. Just being completely just buck ass honest with you here. I haven't seen them in a million years. I haven't rewatched them, and I just don't remember anything about them in specific, and so I don't think I can say that I have a favorite 007 film. I guess not. I mean, I remember bits and pieces from them. I remember Oddjob and his metal-brimmed hat. I mean, that was kind of exciting. I remember the blue-ringed octopus in the fish tank. That was interesting to me. That chick that was all painted gold, and she died because her pores were clogged or something, whatever that was. Jaws with his fucked up teeth. I mean, I remember bits and pieces. Grace Jones was in one of them, I'm pretty sure. But other than that, it's just like a giant hodgepodge of stuff. And I'm sorry to disappoint you, sir. I can hear you groaning across the water. I can hear the disappointment in your voice already. I get it. I'm letting you down here, but real talk, I guess I'm just not that big a fan. So I don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry, sir. But hopefully I have made it clear about where I stand on First Light, and we'll just see how that goes. I mean, I'm not against it. I'd be the first person in line if it was great and it was amazing. I don't know. I'm just not excited, I guess. So, okay. Moving on. Miotron, or is it Myotron? Myotron? Let me know how you pronounce that. Says, hey Brad, not to make you conscious or anything, but I've noticed on your podcast you sometimes repeat certain phrases for emphasis. It works well, and I was curious, do you find yourself doing that in everyday conversations too? And I sent them a message back to be like, maybe, what phrases do you think I repeat? But they didn't respond in time before I had to record, so I apologize, and we didn't really get to close the loop on that one. So it doesn't make me conscious, no worries there, but I'm a language person professionally. I'm an editor and I'm also an interpreter. So I spend a lot of time on language, and I feel like I am probably being intentional, or I have habits developed over time, specifically with the interpreting side of my job, where you have to be very clear. You have to get certain ideas across. And yeah, emphasis is definitely a thing, and I believe it's calculated. I mean, it's probably just second nature now. Like, I don't go into each script for the podcast thinking I'm going to say this phrase 3 times or whatever. But, you want people to walk away with the right idea. You want them to catch the message. And to be honest, a lot of people the way the human brain works is like, you got to say something a couple times before somebody really clocks it, unless they are very, very actively paying attention. And, just like you, I often listen to a podcast as I'm doing email, or as I'm driving, or as I'm doing something else. And so it's easy to sometimes miss the point. So I would love to, hit me back at some point. Hit me up in the Discord and let me know what phrases you think I repeat. I probably do. It's probably a thing that I do. You're probably dead on. And I think it's probably a holdover from my interpreting job, where I have to repeat certain things a number of times, as I'm doing literally right now. See what I did there? To make sure that people walk away with the thing that I want them to walk away with. So I think it probably is just a habit. But I would love to hear more. I would love to hear phrases that you think I repeat. You're probably correct. So there you go. J Monster, good man J Monster says, yo, I added that. He didn't say that. I said that. He says, hopes for the upcoming Monster Hunter Wilds expansion. Number 1, I would hope that I would know about it, because this is the first time hearing about it, bro. I'm embarrassed to admit I had not heard anything about it at all. I thought Monster Hunter Wilds was pretty good. Not my favorite. It was pretty good. I did finish it all the way. I made the armor from the last boss, so you had to beat them 10 times in order to get the armor materials. I did some of the DLC stuff when they introduced a couple new monsters. And then, to be honest, man, I just kind of fell off of it. Not because I didn't like it or anything, but it's I'm not really like a game as a live service kind of person, and it's hard to keep up with stuff like that sometimes. And so I think probably after they released the, oh gosh, I can't even remember what that monster was called. That bubble dragon, the one where they brought it in from a previous Monster Hunter. It slides around in the swamp, shoots the bubbles at you, whatever that dragon is called. That was the last time I played it, when that was new. And then there was a pause between that one and whatever the next update was. And when I hit that pause, I just kind of fell off it. So would I come back to it? I mean, sure, yeah, I love Monster Hunter. You know I'm down for Monster Hunter, man. You know, we're bros, we go way back. You know I'm down. I just haven't kept up with it, and to be honest, I haven't heard any single thing about it. So whatever it is, I will play it. Do I have any hopes for it? Not really. I mean, I don't know. I think so. This is crazy. This is never going to happen. This is just me talking shit. But like, if you remember, I'm sure you do. Was it Monster Hunter? I want to say it was Monster Hunter Try, way back in the day. Was that the Wii? Maybe, where you had to go in the water and you swam in the water. And that was weird. That was weird and fucked up and kind of broken and awkward. But I think it's time for us to go back to the water. I would like to get some scuba gear. I would like to go back in the water, hunt some water monsters, collect coral from the bottom of the ocean, spear gun, whatever. But I feel like with today's technology, we could do that better. We could improve that. And I feel like there is potential there. I would like that for sure. And what else would I like? I would like us to return to the farm system of Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. I don't know if you've played that one. I think maybe you haven't played that one. I feel like we've talked about that at some point in the past and you haven't played that one. That is probably my favorite one of all time. That is a baller of a game. It is a huge game. It might just be the biggest Monster Hunter game ever made. It's got tons of stuff in there, tons of secret stuff. I didn't even finish it all the way because I needed a group. And I don't know that we knew each other at that time. And even if we did, I'm not sure that you had played it. But I wasn't able to finish that all the way because I needed like 4 people to take on some of those Elder Dragons at the end of the game. And all I had was my oldest son, who actually really stuck in there with me. Like, we got to the Elder Dragons together and he must have been 10 at the time. Blew me the fuck away that he was able to hang at that level of the game. But there just got to a point where we just needed like 2 more people and we just couldn't do it. So I would like to see the farm system from Monster Hunter Freedom Unite show up again, where it's kind of similar to what they're doing recently, but just way more compact and way easier, where you just check in, do a little mining on your farm, do a little farming on your farm, do a little gathering on your farm, and it's all right there, just super, super, super convenient. Didn't have to travel anywhere, didn't have to do anything. Fishing was there. I mean, it was just like a really great way to do that. I just thought it was so fun. I don't feel like any farm has been as good as that one. So I would like to go underwater again, but improved. And I would like that old farm system because it was super player friendly and easy to do and just met all my needs and I loved it. So better farm system and underwater. Ron, superfan Ron, says, "Hey Brad, has any food in a video game ever looked so good that you thought, I have to try this food in real life?" Well, speaking of Monster Hunter, yes, basically every food you ever see in Monster Hunter ever. When you go to the cafe to get like a pre-game boost to your stats, you have these cat chefs cook up some food. I mean, they've even, like, I believe there's even a couple cookbooks that have been made about the Monster Hunter food. It looks so good. Like, the meat looks so good, the fish looks so fresh, and all of the stuff looks so tasty, and you can add the different things, and the giant shrimps, and all that stuff. I mean, any one of those dishes, I'd be like, damn, that all looks fucking amazing. And there's many people who try to recreate those things in real life. I've tried to do some of those things to varying degrees of success. But yeah, I mean, anything, literally anything in the Monster Hunter world looks just fucking amazing. Now, one thing that I did try, I think it was Monster Hunter Rise. They really leaned into dango as one of the main foods, which I didn't even know what it was at first. And then I look it up and I'm like, oh shit, it's actually a real food. And then we went and had some. And so I've had dango specifically because I saw it in Monster Hunter. It was fine. It was like, okay. I don't even know what it was, honestly. It was like this big ball of like, I don't know, rice paste or something. I mean, it was like whatever. I think the one in Monster Hunter looked tastier, and it probably was tastier because it was, probably dipped in like monster juice and stuffed with all sorts of stuff, fried in monster fat. Probably makes it tastier. But dango was okay. It was like, whatever. I mean, kind of sweet. I had a sweet one. Would I eat it again? Probably not. But I'm glad I tried it. But like, if I could get a couple of small cats, those little palicos, come over to my house and just like grill me up some fucking, I don't know, like some monster claw shit or like some roast tail or something, I'd have some of that. That shit looks good. So Google that food and you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, folks, that is it for questions. Thank you all for those questions. Shout out to Leechman, Miotron or Myotron. Let me know how you pronounce that. J Monster and Ron. And if you ever want to talk to me, ask questions, anything like that, you can always hit me up in the Discord, which I'll talk about in 1 second. Before we get to that, just a heads up that the Patreon exists. All the costs of this particular podcast and sister site GameCritics.com are paid for out of my pocket. In this pocket, literally right here. If you love the show, if you like the website, I would invite you to chip in and help me keep it all running. And if everybody who clicks over to GameCritics.com or listens to So Video Games would chip in just $1 a month, just one, literally $1, you can do that over at patreon.com/the So Video Games podcast. If everybody would chip in just one, every expense would be covered. And if you can afford it, I would greatly appreciate it. Yeah, what do we got? Okay, I guess let's just get to it, and I'll talk about the Discord later. We do have a Discord. If you want to ask me questions in the Discord, interact with me, with Carlos, with Jeremiah, anybody on the show, you can do that for free, and we will talk about that at the end of the show. All the information will be there. Let's get to it, folks. No circle backs this week because I was, number one, not playing games as much as I wanted to, and number two, I had a bunch of new stuff to cover, so let's do it. First game up is Sacred 2, Fallen Angel Remaster. So this is a remaster of a PC game from I don't even know when. I'm guessing probably early 90s. I could be... Okay, fuck it. Okay, pause. Let me just check it out real quick. Google. Okay, I was way off on that. It's actually from 2008, according to Google. And apparently people tell me this was more popular in Europe than it was here. I think this is a German game. Very possible. I'm not really, steeped in the lore of the PC scene, so... It's very possible that this was really hot at some point and I just never knew it because I don't really play PC games. Didn't really play this one either for reasons that'll become apparent. This is a remaster of this game. I have never heard about it before. Just jumped into it kind of blind to see what it was all about. Very, very kind of like outdated graphics. Your main character is like kind of an objectified angel lady who's wearing inappropriate clothing for melee combat, and there's some kind of a story. I clicked through it because there was no subtitles. I didn't have a headset on because I often play games with no sound, and I know that sounds crazy to people, but sometimes I just play without sound for no reason. Sometimes my family's doing something. Sometimes there's background noise going on and it's hard to focus. I do have headphones, but I don't wear them that often because I don't like to feel that disconnected from my family. I like to kind of keep tabs on what's going on in the house and stuff like that. So this was a time when I had no headphones on and I wanted to jump in and just play this game, and there was no subtitles. And so the opening cutscene and the intro, no subtitles whatsoever. It was like some dudes talking and I'm like, fuck this, no subtitles, skip. And for a remaster, that's something that you absolutely should be adding in. Maybe you didn't have it back then because you didn't know or whatever. We've come a long way with accessibility since then. No excuse not to have subtitles now. It's a pretty low bar to clear. So I skipped over the story, and then it's just like a PC style game where you have this chick running around. There's like I think 5 or 6 different characters to choose from. They give you some lore, whatever. And then it's kind of like a Diablo type perspective where you're kind of overhead, isometric, running around. And it's got that kind of PC combat where the game is like rolling dice behind the scenes. So rather than being a real-time action, like you would go up to somebody, hold the attack button, and then you would like take a bunch of swipes at them, and then it would be like miss, 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 20 damage, miss, miss, 20 damage. So you can tell that they're doing the rolls behind the scenes like in RPG fashion, which is fine, I guess, but it just was very clunky. Animations, very clunky. Graphics, very ugly. Pretty buggy right from the get-go. The menus didn't work properly. I got into a menu and I couldn't back out of it for a while. I thought the game was like frozen, and then I finally got out of it. I was walking through the woods and there was like an elk, and it was trapped in a loop where it was like trying to run across pasture, and it got to the end of the pasture and then reset back to the beginning of the pasture and then ran across and then reset back. Like it was trapped in this little like infinite feedback loop. And so that kind of sucked. It was just very, very unoptimized, no tutorials whatsoever. You just jump in and just start playing, rough. And no experience with the original game. I did talk to a couple people who had played this, and they said this is a really bad remaster. If you're interested, you should play the original version. Apparently, there are a lot of fan patches available, which give you a better experience than what you get with this remaster. And I believe them. I'm sure that's true. I know that there's some people out there doing some amazing patchwork. But I just didn't see anything here that seemed to be worth my time. Like bad graphics, bad intro, no subtitles, bad gameplay. I mean, this just felt like a relic of the past. I'm sure this game was cool back in the day, way back in 2008, but we've come a long way since then, and I didn't see any. I'm not even sure why anybody would even bother to bring this out. And if you were going to bring it out, fix the bugs, man. Like, polish it up. bring a couple things up to speed, fix those bugs, get some subtitles going. I didn't seem like anything here was patched, and some people said this was even worse than the old version if you fan patched it. So I don't know why this game exists. I'm not sure why they brought it out. I'm not sure why they didn't soup it up a little bit. Seems just like a quickie cash grab that's probably not worth anybody's time. So I passed on this one pretty quickly. Sacred 2 Fallen Angel Remaster. I do not recommend this under any circumstances, and if you're interested, please take the advice that I was given and go, I don't know, check it out on Good Old Games or something and download all the patches and just play it that way. People say that's a better experience than this very shoddy remaster. So I'm inclined to believe them. On this one, thumbs down for sure. All right, moving on. Easy Delivery Company. I've heard a lot about this one. I believe we reviewed it at Game Critics. I can't remember off the top of my head who covered it. But we had a fairly favorable review, if I recall properly. And I'm seeing a lot of people in my indie circles kind of talking about it. A little bit of buzz going for this one. And so I thought I would check this out. Got sent a code. And by the way, all of the games... No, that's not true. Sacred 2, I got a code for. Easy Delivery Company got a code for. I'm going to talk about Relooted, which is on Game Pass. I'm going to talk about Hunt the Night, which I got a code for. And Furi, which I paid money for. So got to do my FCC disclosures there, so I don't get in trouble with the feds. Anyway, so thank you to PR for sending me a code. Started this up this morning, and it is rare that I have an allergic reaction to a game as quickly or as strongly as I had in this one. Like almost immediately, I was like, I don't want to play this anymore. You start it up. It's got this very strong, like aggressively pixel art style. It looks like a really early like PS1 style game, but like more so. And it had a very heavy fisheye CRT effect on, which was also really repellent to me. Had to turn that off. And then you jump into the game, and there's like basically no introduction. They give you a menu that makes it look like you're interfacing with an old PC system. There are like icons on the screen, and you click those as your user interface, which I did not care for at all. No real intro. And you just like, you're this like little super pixely cat who's inside a small like Japanese Mitsubishi style truck, and then you just like are just dumped into playing it. And I'm like, okay, this is a very inauspicious beginning, and they want you to deliver some things, and it's just janky as fuck. Like I feel like the intro is just so bad. The first you got to choose a mission from the get-go. So you go into this weird ugly menu, you choose a mission, and then they're like, go pick up food at this restaurant. And there's no icon or anything. There's no arrow. There's no direction as to where to go. They're like, look for the lit up door. And I'm looking around at this like really pixely landscape in this little town, and I don't see anything. I'm like, where am I going? What is even I'm literally just starting this game, man. Like, do you really want to get your game off on this foot? Because this sucks. And I don't see what's happening. I drive around for a while, and then I finally see this like door that's like maybe vaguely slightly lit up, kinda, maybe. And so I drive over there, I jump out of the truck, third person. I think you can also do first person as well. And then I walk inside this really nondescript store. I wasn't even sure if you could even open the door. Like it looked just like a background kind of a building that you would, like you would just drive by in any other kind of open world game. You go inside, I'm like, oh shit, okay, this is the place. I talk to this guy who's in there. He's like, he tells me some stuff that I don't care about. And he's like, here, take these boxes. So you got to go back to your truck, open the bed of the truck, put in the boxes, close the bed of the truck. And then it's like, drive. And I'm like, where, man? Like, there's no map. There's no arrow. Like, it's like, look for the icon. And I don't see an icon. And I'm like, what is going on, dude? What is happening here? And so I just start driving around, and then eventually an icon does pop up, and I'm heading completely the fucking wrong way. I'm like, oh shit. Okay. Turn around, turn back around. And then I'm going the wrong way again. And I'm like, what the hell? What is happening? And it turns out that the delivery I was supposed to make was literally like two doors down from the place where I picked up the box. It was like 10 in-game feet away. And I'm like, what sense does that make? I'm in a truck. You should give me a delivery where I need to go drive it. Like, I went through all that rigmarole just to like take this box 2 doors down. Like, why didn't you walk it there yourself, motherfucker? What is going on with this? The whole thing just was really, really off-putting. It felt very arch and indie and kind of like, I don't even know, like ironic maybe. Like I did not care for the overly pixelated graphics. I did not care for the rough, like no tutorial, like no HUD style of gameplay. I just was like, what is going on? Like, I feel like I am not welcome here, and I am gonna leave this game. And that's exactly what I did. I quit after like delivering 2 or 3 boxes. I'm like, this is stupid. I don't like this at all. Aggressive dislike. It's rare that I bounce on something that hard that fast, but man, this game was just like getting on my every nerve. So I know some people like this, and that's cool. I'm sure it's got some good things about it. I'm sure its mom likes it very much. But boy, this game just like got off on the wrong foot and did not get back on the right foot, and I was out. I am not coming back to Easy Delivery Company. Just aggressively disliked everything about it. So there you go. Very, very poor first experience, and there will not be a second experience. Easy Delivery Company, thumbs down. All right, next up is Relooted. This is on Game Pass, and I have not been following this one. Apparently, it was really swarmed by the anti-woke people who are just a bunch of shitty, whiny trolls. Don't think too much of those folks. Apparently, this is... Well, I mean, why did it catch their attention? I think that's pretty obvious. This is a 2D parkour / heist game that features a group of African people who are specifically African. And the game is about them going on a group. It's like near future. Like one of them's a cyborg and there's tech gear and stuff like that. So it's like near future Afrofuturism, I guess, which is an actual genre. And they go to steal artifacts which have been previously stolen by colonizers and kept away from the places where they need to be returned to. And they explain all this in great detail in the beginning of the game. They're like, we're not actually thieves. We're going to steal this stuff back because these people are supposed to give it back by law, but instead of giving it back, they hide it away and they're not ever going to give it back. So these people take matters into their own hands and they figure out these heists to go and steal the stuff back. So good premise. I appreciate that. Stealing from thieves is always fine in my book. You start off by getting introduced to a couple of people where one is a parkour expert. Her brother seems to be kind of like a guy who can't keep himself out of trouble. He's got a cyborg arm. He's also like they call him the locksmith because he gets in and out of locked doors and stuff like that. She's the parkour expert. But basically the gameplay boils down to going to a location, museum. They're museums basically, and you got to scope it out first. You get there, you enter, you find the artifact you're after, you figure out how to get to it, and then before you grab it, you got to figure out your method of escape. Like locked doors will come down, laser barriers will go up, there's gaps to jump and stuff like that. So like once the alarm goes off, you've got to run as quickly as you can out and make sure that you have a path to exit. Along the way, you can call in some of your teammates for help. Like if there's a locked door, you can assign your friend or your brother, I think it is, to go stand by the door. So when the time comes, he can open the door for you, etc., etc. So it's pretty cool premise. I like the premise. I think the graphics are pretty bright and colorful in traditional African style. I am not an expert on African culture by any means, but I do recognize like a lot of the brightly colored cloth and a lot of the, cultural type things that you see when you look at African stuff. It's all very cool. I like it a lot. Writing seems pretty good. I think I just wasn't in the mood for this one. I don't think there's really anything wrong with it at all. I think it's an interesting premise, good characters. The only one thing I didn't like about it so much was the camera felt a little bit squirrely to me. Like when you are parkouring out, especially when you're moving at high speed, I felt like the camera should be more stable. Like let your character jump around and hop and do those things, but I feel like the camera was a little bit locked to them too much, and so I felt like there was too much wiggle in the camera. It made it a little bit hard to see, and just wasn't really optimal. That's a pretty small complaint, though. Did not finish. I just wasn't in the mood for this one. I didn't really have any complaints. I mean, I think on a different day, I would have been compelled to go through and probably play the whole thing. It just didn't strike me at the right time, but I liked what I saw. I think it's pretty cool if you're interested in seeing games portrayed from alternative perspectives, anti-colonizer stuff, putting black people forward in starring roles. I think the whole time that I saw the game, I didn't see the whole game, but I think I only saw like one white guy the entire time and everybody else is black, which I think is pretty cool. I think there's definitely room in video games to have entire casts which do not feature, white cis men as the protagonists. And if that made you mad, you're probably not supposed to listen to this podcast anyway. I'm guessing you're probably not mad if I say that. So I have a good cultured group of wise and sexy listeners. I bet you're all you're all down with what I'm saying here. So pretty cool game. You can check it out on Game Pass for free. Nothing really lost there. I like it, and like I said, on a different day, I probably would have spent more time with it. It just wasn't what I was in the mood for at the time. But I like it. I think it's pretty cool. And also, I believe we have a full review from Sparky Clarkson at Game Critics. I'm pretty sure he reviewed this a couple weeks ago, and I remember him being pretty favorable on it. I think he liked it overall. I think he just wanted some more writing, a little bit more time with the characters because he enjoyed them. And, you know, if your only main complaint about a game is that you didn't get enough of it, you wanted more of it, I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good criticism to get. So there you go. Relooted, available on Game Pass, Xbox, and I believe it's on every other platform if you want to just buy a copy as well. Next up is Hunt the Night. This one kind of came out of nowhere. Have not heard anybody really talking about it in any of my circles, which I'm a little bit surprised by. This is, I think, the first game from a brand new studio, but boy, they're really flexing some muscle on this one. I think they did a great job, honestly. This is a 2D kind of top-down adventure game that takes heavy influence from like Souls and specifically Bloodborne. You play a hunter type person. I believe they call them crows, which I'm sure if you've played Bloodborne, you can see the influence there. They are sent to a city to take care of whatever. And the whole thing just went sideways. Like evil gods have showed up and there's corruption all over the place and monsters and all this type of stuff. And so you show up and you need to find out what happened to your fellow hunters, your fellow crows, and take down the bad guys, just like in Bloodborne. I mean, clearly. And I don't say that like insultingly. I think it's totally fine. A lot of people really love Bloodborne. And if you want to take influence from that and make your own game, I think that's totally fair. I mean, that's what being a human creator is all about. You're influenced by things and you make your own creation, put your own spin on it. And that's exactly what they do here. This is not a copy of Bloodborne in any way, but it's clearly inspired by it. The vibe, dark, oppressive, grungy, diseased, monsters, you're a hunter, and that kind of like, I don't know, like the garb, like vaguely Victorian kind of like fancy garb and swords and pistols and stuff. I mean, it all looks like what Bloodborne feels like, if that makes any sense. Combat pretty straightforward, but I think it's good. You've got a dodge, you've got a melee combo, you've got a couple different guns. There's actually a shitload of weapons in this. I only found maybe 4 or 5 of them. You had like claws, great sword, like a rapier type. You had a spear, a couple other things. Axe, maybe? Am I thinking of an axe? Maybe an axe. And so you can, change those up. You can't change them in the middle of a battle. Like if you're in a boss battle, you can't change them in the middle of that. Otherwise, you can change them anytime. You had a regular pistol. You had a shotgun. And you also had a crossbow that you could rotate through on the fly. You've got grenades. You've got, and a special magical ability, too, that you can switch. Lots of, like, charms and items to switch around to give yourself, different weapon effects. You've got some talismans to equip. And I think the art is pretty good. I really like the art. I think I'm a big fan of pixel art in general. And I feel like the developers here have done a great job. Everything is very evocative. And it just controls really well. It handles really well. You eventually get a couple more powers, which I haven't mentioned, which I think are pretty interesting. Not going to spoil those here. But they add to both combat and gameplay, which I think is nice. Also add some story. As you go through, you're going to be fighting monsters in real time. You'll be using your gun on faraway guys. You also have some invisible guys you got to fight, which are usually cued off by a sound cue. Or you can see them if you hold still. You can kind of see an outline of them. And then there's puzzles. Pretty straightforward puzzles, like, gather 4 statues and put them in 4 holes to open up a door or something. But they're pretty well done. I mean, they have you doing interesting things along the way, even if the puzzles themselves are not, like, mega deep. But that's fine. I mean, you don't want to spend too much time getting hung up on puzzles in a game like this. You want to keep the action flowing, which is pretty much what they do here. I think the only complaint so the one complaint that I think I did have, and it's not really a complaint, is there's no map, following in FromSoft tradition, right? So, and I think it's okay. The areas that I were in, I could tell them apart enough that I wasn't super lost. But there were a few times when I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I just got a key and oh shit, where was that door? And I usually found them pretty quick. It's not like the areas that I was in were huge, but a map would be appreciated. I'm just like, I just want a map in every fucking game these days. And, if you're FromSoft, you're maybe excused from that because I know that your environmental design is like top tier, basically setting the standard for the rest of the industry. So like, pass for FromSoft. and maybe a pass for those people that do Lies of P, perhaps. But like everybody else, you need to put a map in because you're not those people. So a map would have been appreciated. It wasn't necessary. I never got stuck for too long. I never got compelled to go look up a YouTube walkthrough. I never got compelled for an FAQ, which I think is the line of demarcation for me. So they stayed on the good side of that line, which is great. I will say, though, that this game does get difficult. I got to, I think, the third boss. First boss took me maybe like 5-10 tries, but, you know, I could see the patterns, and it was just about execution. Second boss went down pretty quickly. Third boss, I was like, oh, shit. Okay, things are getting tough now. It's doable, but it's like you got to be on your game. You got to be able to execute. You got to recognize the patterns, and you got to like really put in the practice. So I noped out at that point just because I didn't want to dedicate myself to this game right now. But I mean, if I had been in the mood for this, I think this is a really well done game. If you like 2D action games, if you like Bloodborne, especially if you want something that has that flavor, but that is not Bloodborne, I think this one is really successful. I think it does a great job, and I liked it a lot. And if I had been in a different mood, I would have buckled down and I would have beaten that third boss. But I hear from other people that it gets pretty hard in the middle. So, I mean, I guess if you play Bloodborne, that's not a problem for you. But just be aware that I hear there are some difficulty spikes. And one person did say that later on in the game, maybe halfway or further on, there's one part that's pretty difficult to navigate just because I guess it looks pretty samey. So again, kind of getting back to the map complaint. But honestly, neither one of those things would have really put me off. I think this is a well done game, well put together, pretty impressive first effort from the studio. And I was having a pretty good time with it. If I was in more of a Bloodborne action mood, I would be pretty happy to dig into this. So if anything I've said sounds interesting and you like Bloodborne, especially I'm talking to you, definitely check out Hunt the Night. I think this one is going to go under a lot of people's radars, but I think it deserves your attention, and I think it's really, really well done. And like I said, if I had been in a different mood, I could easily imagine myself in a different situation, like rolling credits on this one. It seems worthwhile for sure. So there you go. That is Hunt the Night. All right, last game of the show, Furi, F-U-R-I, coming from the Game Bakers. This is, as I said in the intro, something old. This came out several years ago. In fact, let me take a quick look here. According to my good friend Google, 2016, so like a full 10 years ago. This came out, I remember I played it when it came out, and I remember I wasn't a fan of this. But why am I coming back to it? This old game? Well, I'll tell you why. Because Cairn is a fantastic game, which I raved about earlier this year, like in January, and I still love that game quite a bit. And so I'm familiar with the Game Bakers. I knew they did Furi. I knew they did another game. The name escapes me. It's like the two people that are like going from planet to planet in love. Whatever that one's called. Haven, that one's called. And I think that Cairn was their third game, I believe. And so I'm like, okay, well, I have a newfound respect. Not that I didn't respect them, not that I disrespected them, but I just, Furi didn't click with me at first, and I don't think I ever spent more than the demo with Haven, but Cairn really blew me away. Like, it was really like a visionary kind of experience, and one that I will not soon forget. And so I'm like, okay, in light of this, I want to go back and see what they've done, pay it some more attention, give it a closer once over, really take another look at it. And as we say on the show, the best time to ever play in a game is at least 6 months after release. Well, I gave Furi a good 10 years. I think that's plenty. Went back to it. And so the debut game from the Game Bakers is really interesting and different. And I think in hindsight, now that I've played, Cairn all the way through, and I will probably go back to Haven after this, you can kind of see the connective tissue between all these things, like the different themes and such. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. So Furi, what is it? It's a very vibes heavy, kind of abstract sci-fi fantasy story. You start the game as a person, I think they just call you like a Deathbringer or something like that. And you're like totally tied up in this like Supermax restraint thing. Like your arms are above your head and they're locked into this machine, and you're on this like little asteroid that's like orbiting Earth, and there's no way out of it. And you're in the prison, and this weird guy comes and starts torturing you and says you're going to be stuck here forever. He's going to just torture you for infinity. You break out of your prison, and then you go and fight him. And so this game is basically a boss rush, like third person, real-time action boss rush. So you go to fight this guy, and this first fight is essentially the tutorial. You have a dodge, which is a weird dodge because you have to push the button, and then it dodges when you release rather than when you push the button, which is really messing with my mind. You've got an attack. You've got a charged attack. You have a sword. You've got a parry. You've got a gun with regular bullets. You can also do charged shot. And I think that's what you've got. You might get more powers later, or maybe you don't. But that's what you have to start with, which is pretty good amount of stuff. And then the guy you fight, your jailer guy, you know, he does all sorts of different moves. And so they teach you how to parry. Parrying heals you. They teach you how to attack, do a charged hit to knock somebody out. Then you do a combo on them. You dodge their bullets. There's a little bit of bullet hell in this. There's a little bit of like real-time action, a little bit of combo. Definitely a lot of pattern recognition. And so you just kind of do a boss rush. So I think that's an interesting premise. And I think the whole idea of being this prisoner guy escaping is interesting because they quickly show you what the world looks like. It's a series of boss battles. I don't know exactly how many, maybe like 10 boss battles or something like that. But they show you on the asteroid that is furthest away from Earth. So you're like basically in space. You beat that guy. You go to the next asteroid down, and it's like a different area. It's like a prison to hold someone else. And so you get down there. There's like this lady who's like chained to this machinery. She's got like a laser gun for a head, and she's screaming all the time. And so you fight her and then get done with that. And then you go back to like the next asteroid down. So you're going from asteroid to asteroid to asteroid. Each one is just big enough to have like a one-on-one battle. And then eventually you're going to get down to planet Earth. And I don't know what's down there. Along the way, you meet this guy who's got this weird rabbit costume head on. I don't know exactly who he is. It looks like he's holding a microphone and he's got a rabbit head costume. And he's talking to you. Like, I don't know if he's a hallucination or what, but he's kind of telling you he's urging you on to keep fighting and making your way back down to Earth and stuff. So it's an interesting kind of high concept premise, which I always thought it was pretty cool. But I remember back in the day not liking Furi very much for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's really, really hard. It's balls hard. And number two, the controls are just very idiosyncratic. The dodging is really weird. And the way that they do the enemies, it's really, really all hinging on pattern recognition. So you can't just like spam attacks and dodge and stuff. You have to like work with what the boss gives you. So for example, maybe you'll do like some quick combos. When the boss loses a certain amount of health, he'll like jump to the back of the arena, and then all of a sudden he's invulnerable and he just like shoots bullet hell patterns at you. So you've got to like just dodge for a while. Nothing you can do about that. And then he'll come back, and then he'll do like maybe AoE attacks. And so you've got to like jump over those, and then you can hit him again. And then sometimes he'll do like a close-up melee where like 3/4 of the arena lights up to let you know an impending attack is coming. And so you've got to dash to the 1/4 of the arena that isn't lit up to avoid the attack. And so they do all these kind of things here to kind of challenge you about recognizing attacks, remembering attacks, and then like, performing these things, executing the proper move at the proper time with the proper, attack or dodge or counter or whatever. It doesn't feel like a natural, like it doesn't feel like Devil May Cry. It doesn't feel like that. It feels more like you're given a series of, I don't want to call them QTEs because it doesn't feel like that, but the same sense of like, I've got to do a very, very specific action at this very specific time. And if I do this successfully, then I'll go on to the next phase. So it does have a little bit of, I guess, QTE flavor to it, even though it's not really QTE. But it's not exactly freeform, juggle, do whatever you want combat either. Like it's very structured, very rigid, and they want you to fight these enemies in a very specific way with specific timing. So it's kind of restrictive in that way. And I think that combined with the difficulty really turned me off back in the day. I didn't get more than 2 or 3 bosses in before I'd had enough. I remember that being, pretty clear 10 years ago. I remember just kind of getting frustrated with it. But they have done some updates since then. I am like 99% sure that when I first played this game, there was no easy mode, and there is an easy mode now. And it is actually significantly easier than the normal mode. So I put it on easy because I'm not here to prove myself, and I don't really want a stiff challenge. I just want to have fun. I want to see this game through because I think it's interesting now, and I want to compare and contrast to Cairn. So easy mode is really easy. And they tell you ahead of time, you're not going to unlock everything if you play in easy mode. Don't care, because I'm going to play this through one time, and then I will never play it again, as I discussed at the beginning of the podcast, so that's fine. But I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting piece. I think it's different. I think it's pretty unusual, and I think it kind of speaks to the game maker's aesthetic as a studio of doing things slightly differently, really leaning into the art and the vibes of a thing, maybe doing mechanics and gameplay differently than you might expect. Certainly marching to their own drummer on this one. very much just like Karen, and I'm sure probably Haven probably follow suit as well. So far I'm up to the third boss in Furi. I am interested enough to keep going. I will put some more time into this, play it some more tonight. And if it stays at this level of difficulty, I should be able to beat it no problem, because I think easy is pretty easy. So we'll see how that goes. But I think it's an interesting one. It's still available. I'm playing it on PS5. I think it's available on basically every platform at this point, and probably pretty cheaply since it's like a decade old. But if you like Cairn, if you like the game bakers, if you want to see where they come from, if you're the kind of player like I am, where when you like somebody's work, you go back and see their previous work, I love to do that. This is an interesting one to go back to if you haven't played it before. So check it out. This is Furi, Furi. All right. Game portion of the show officially done, but like many folks, I do spend a few minutes a week in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That's right, folks. It is time for the TV and movie roundup. Not much this week because I've been pretty busy, as I said. I will say that the wife and I have gone back and are starting Scrubs again. Scrubs from, 10 years ago or something like that. This is about a group of interns at a hospital. It's a wacky, off-the-wall comedy. They do a lot of jokes. They do a lot of visual gags. They do a lot of sight gags and just really absurd things. Musical numbers pop up, people in costumes pop up. They do a lot of quick cuts and dream sequences that are just really just jokey things, which is pretty cool, pretty fun. I think the cast is strong. This is starring Zach Braff. This is where he got famous back in the day. If you remember him, he got really, really popular on the show. He's also a real music head, so he got chummy with a lot of bands. This show showcases a lot of indie music from back then. It also co-stars Donald Faison, who's fucking hilarious, and I love him, and a bunch of other people. Judy Reyes, I think, who's also in another couple things. Sarah Chalk, who's also good. Cast is really strong. Writing is really pop, screwball kind of pace to it, that tempo. I think it's all really well done, funny, enjoyable. They do have a lot of poignant moments because people die in the hospital. People have relationships. They make choices. And, it's not all wall-to-wall jokes, although overall it is mostly a comedy, which is great. And I think it's a fun show to go back to. We know that they just revived the series. There's a brand new Scrubs, which just kicked off this year, where Zach Braff comes back and he's a much older man. He's now the director of medicine as opposed to being an intern in the original Scrubs. So we're going to watch the entire series again, and then we'll go back to the new series and see how that kicks off. So having a good time with it, but I will say that it is a little bit eye-opening to go back to this series, because I don't think I really clocked how much casual sexism is in this show. There's a lot, actually. It's a little bit alarming how often someone gets called a female name as a derogatory insult, or they compare someone to crying like a girl, or pitching like a girl, or acting like a girl. It comes up a lot, to the point of where there's been a few episodes where I'm kind of uncomfortable, and the wife is definitely uncomfortable, and I'm damn, I don't remember it being so anti-women back then, but it really is. I mean, there are many other good aspects to the show, and I think it's commentary about the time that this show came out, when we saw something like that and heard something like that, and I probably didn't even blink twice at it back then, but now that so much time has passed, we've become more aware of sexist issues and about how we portray people in media and about the proper way to address people. I mean, I feel like it's still a funny show. We're still watching it, but it sticks out like a sore thumb when those things happen. It happens a lot. So I feel like I have evolved past accepting that kind of comedy or those kind of insults on the show. My wife definitely has. It's not cool, but it's a cultural artifact, and there's a lot to like about the show. So we're not just dismissing it out of hand. We're kind of taking it as a piece of its time. But I will say that it's a little bit uncomfortable at times, especially when they lean into it. There's been one or two episodes that have gone really heavy on it. There was one especially that was about Elliot, who is the main female lead. She's the female doctor intern. And the whole show was basically about her being told, shut up when people make fun of you for being a girl. That's what you're supposed to do. Just take it and smile and move on. And that was the resolution. There was no comeuppance for the people that were being sexist towards her. The resolution of the show was shut up and suck it up and move on, which horrifying. Okay. Not okay. Definitely not okay. Don't condone that at all. So it's definitely of its time. And those instances are pretty disappointing. But I'm hoping they get less as the show goes on. We shall see. And I am very interested to compare and contrast when we start the new series. So it's not perfect. Definitely some problems. Way too much sexism, especially casual sexism. But it's still, great cast. It's a lot of fun. And I guess you just have to remember the time that it's from and just like, put up your screen and, and again, I'm not excusing it. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying I've seen it before and I am aware of where it's from. And I think our house anyway has moved past it. So we're just taking it for what it is. And, we're just aware of it. We're clocking it and not excusing it, if that makes any sense. The only other thing I want to talk about this week is a movie called Empire Waste. I actually saw this a couple weeks ago, but I just didn't have time to get it on the show, but I'm talking about it today. This is an indie movie about a plus-size girl in high school who is just really berated at school. She doesn't feel pretty. Lots of physical torment about her being overweight, and she is just having a really miserable time in school. But she's a really talented dress designer. And so she makes friends with another plus-size girl who has more confidence than she does. And so they kind of become friends, and they coax her into sharing her designs with other students. And so it becomes about acceptance, and it becomes about body positivity, and it becomes about, living your truth. There's a couple other people in this movie. There's a couple disabled people. There are some autistic people. There's a trans person. And they just talk about acceptance and diversity in a way that I thought was really positive and uplifting. It was funny. I mean, we laughed a lot. Like, it's definitely a comedy, even though there are some really serious moments. And I think that this is the kind of movie that I think is really relevant today, where somebody who does not feel like they're within the norm, or somebody who might have trouble accepting themselves or who they are, would see a film like this and hopefully feel like, that there's hope or there's positivity. Like, you can be loved, you can be accepted, you can have friends. You don't have to look like everybody else. You don't have to be like everybody else, which is a great message that I totally believe in 100%. So Empire Waste was really good. I thought it was really sweet and really cute. I'm really glad I watched it. I felt good afterwards, and this is the kind of thing that I really like, and I hope that more people make movies like this, and this message is something that I really feel strongly about. So thumbs up big time to Empire Waste for sure. All right, folks, that is a show. Before the closing music, we'd love for you to leave reviews, share the show on social media, but most important of all, please recommend the show to your friends, because nothing beats good old word of mouth. And as always, I want your questions and comments, just like we had at the top of the show. You can email me directly, sovideogamespodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit me up on social media. I'm on Instagram and Blue Sky. Both places, it's my name, BradGallaway, all A's, no O's. You can also hit me in the So Video Games Discord, which is totally free of charge to join. Got a great little community of folks going. We chat about stuff every day. You can talk to the host there. You can talk to me. You can ask me questions, whatever. Free to join. Just drop me a line through any of the channels just mentioned, and I'll send you an invite. We'll get you on board to continue the conversation. We'd love to have you. And finally, as I said also, if you'd like to support the show with the cost of running, not only this podcast, but also GameCritics.com, you can do that over at patreon.com/the So Video Games Podcast. Every single dollar helps, and €1 helps that much more. All right, folks, that's going to do it for episode 482. Thank you again for joining me here on the So Video Games Podcast, and I'll see you next week.